everyone, it's Mary, and today I'm filming a review for the book Breasts and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami that was translated from the Japanese by Sam Bett and David Boyd and was published this year, actually in 2020, although it seems like I've been hearing this book talked about a lot. It sort of felt like it was published even before, but we all know that 2020 has been a long year. Anyway, so this book, how it's structured is split in two parts. The first part was actually originally a novella that the author published I think roughly 10 years ago, but that was never translated into English. Then she sort of put the two, she decided to write sort of a part two, I would say, of the first novella that she wrote, and she put them together in a single book. Although she stated that it's not that she simply, put the two things together. She actually sort of tweaked and changed a little bit the first novella to fit into the narrative of the book as a whole. So we've got the book divided in these two parts, in which the first part is significantly shorter than the second. The second is much longer and spans also much a longer period of time, I would say. So the first part of the book centers around three women. Natsuko, who narrates the story mainly, and Makiko, her sister, and the sister's daughter, so Makiko's daughter, Midoriko. And so the first part really revolves around these three women, and it's actually, I think it's told in the span of like 3 days, yes, 2 or 3 days. And even though it's set in such a short, I would say, period of time, so much is packed into the narrative of this first part, because actually Makiko and her daughter, Midoriko, who is not currently speaking to her mom, she's just communicating through notes that she writes on a notebook. And they travel together to Tokyo to meet Natsuko, but actually because Makiko wants to get breast implants. So that's the reason why they travel there, and ultimately they stay there the couple of days. So it's the interaction between the three sort of main characters of the novel, but also an exploration of their past, of women in Japan, of poverty as well, their own, parents. There's just a lot of themes sort of thrown into it, and as I said, the story is narrated by Natsuko, but also you've got in this first part some journal entries of Midoriko, because other than writing notes to her mom and to Natsuko as well, she is writing a journal. So you've got her, you can actually hear her voice through her journal, although the journal is not set in the same time period. It's like from earlier on, before the trip takes place. So I thought it was so interesting and well done. I love how she writes, how the author writes, and as I said, in such a short, like how time is managed in this first part. I think it was brilliant because actually, a lot happens, but you don't feel like it's dragging. And when you have those long days in which a lot happens, that just felt like it. And I really enjoyed this first part, as I said. So I find it hard to believe that the author, well, of course she did, maybe she changed some parts to fit in with the narrative, but this first part worked so well on its own that yes, I think it could have stood alone as a novella or a short novel, and it would have been great, in my opinion, of course. And I just wanted to mention as well that there is a scene, because this has been brought up quite a lot in a lot of booktube videos that I watched, that there is a scene that could be perceived as transphobic in this first part. I personally didn't think it was. Actually, the people who claimed, or actually that perceived that as transphobic, or maybe heard that, were all non-trans people. So I'm not trans, so again, I cannot speak for trans people and how they would perceive this scene. But I've read reviews of trans people that actually said that for them it was not transphobic, and actually I didn't feel that as well. I just felt like it was, she was just questioning her views on femininity, or on body image and all that jazz, and it did fit with the narration, and also I didn't feel like it was disrespectful. But of course, as I said, I'm not trans, and I just wanted to point that out because that could be maybe for what I heard, because if somebody found that transphobic, then it's worth mentioning. So going into this one, I personally didn't think it was, though. And this is the first part of the book. The second part takes place 10 years after the events of the first part, and we sort of have the same. Natsuko is still the narrator of the story, but her sister and Midoriko don't really play a part in this. They're just hovering on the narration, and I didn't think they needed to be included, to be honest. But I guess she wanted to have sort of a running thread. But it's really about Natsuko and her life. She talks about her as a writer and the fact that she wants to conceive without having sexual intercourse. So this would be the eggs, part of the title. In the first part, we do focus around breasts, although not really. The breasts thing is what sparks the conversation, and the second part would be, more about eggs. And it's not about, it doesn't really explore infertility. It just explores the need for people, in this case women, to become parents, and how selfish is that, how children really don't ask to be born, and how we decide. It sort of tries to draw a line between how is it that you do it for yourself, and how much you do it for maybe some other purposes. I thought the discussion was very interesting, and those are things that I had thought about before. I am a mother, so that really sort of was very interesting to me, but at the same time I didn't feel like it had the closure that I was expecting, which doesn't mean that it had like an open-ended finale in which you could draw on your own conclusions. It's just that I didn't really see the point that she was trying to make, or if she did make a point, how long it took for it to come across, and how really necessary it was. I mean, the discussion, as I said, was very interesting, but I don't think it would necessarily fit with the first part, although, the theme of motherhood is explored as well in the first part, so it does have a connection, but I would have preferred that these were like two separate novels, and they maybe could have worked just as well. Natsuko didn't have to be the protagonist of the second part. That was not, I couldn't really see her in the first part. It was just so disconnected to me, and also I thought the second part was way too long for what it was trying to say. And the second part also, what bothered me was the addition of men into the story, which sounds rude probably, but it just didn't need to happen, because in the first part you don't have any sort of male figures, and if there's one, it's just mentioned like briefly. They don't play a part in the story, and I thought it's just, for the purpose of the book, it worked so well that when actually men arrived in the story, I was like, that doesn't really work, that's not working. And also I was listening to the audiobook for this one, and I don't know if this happens with every audiobook, or just some narrators decide to do this, but the voice, the person who was narrating had a female voice, and she sort of, when she was talking, playing, you know, the male part, she would lower her voice and just it would bother me so much. I didn't like that at all. It really, I mean, I was hoping to get the paperback before finishing the audio, because I just much prefer to read fiction on paper. But unfortunately my copy arrived too late, and I had already finished the book. That really bothered me, but it was not the only reason why I thought men really didn't need to be included. It was not the narrator's fault. Surely that didn't help. Anyway, so yes, ultimately I gave this book 3 stars, which to me is sort of that's why I wanted to have a discussion about this, because a 3-star rating doesn't really say anything. It's like, it's a good book, maybe not enough, not that memorable, I will probably get rid of it. But actually I don't want to get rid of this one, and it was just interesting to me, and I actually feel like I want to reread it as well. And I also want to read anything else that she's written and that she will write in the future, because I just really love her voice. But at the same time, I could not give this book a higher rating, because to me the first part of the book was a 5-star read. I really, really liked that. And the second part of the book was barely a 2. It was just, and the fact that she decided to put them together was even worse, because I felt like she ruined the story somehow. And I wish I could get my hands on the first, like the original novella that she wrote, but unfortunately, as I said, it's not translated, so that's too bad. Anyway, I would definitely recommend you check out this book. It's a bit of a chunky one, as I said, but even if you get to the first part, then I'll be happy, because I feel like it's worth it. And also, I really enjoy, again, the themes that are discussed, and I would love to maybe discuss them with you as well in the comments. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!